And then, but these people in this city vote for a mayor. In our form of government, the mayor is the presiding officer of our meetings. That's his main role as mayor in this form of government. And from where I just read on, most of the strikes that you've put in is taking his mayor duties out of role.
No,
Because he's the presiding officer, he's the one that has the gavel, he's the one that rules someone out of order.
Correct.
That's his role. That's what these people vote for. And I'm not gonna support taking that form of our government away unless it's on a ballot and everybody wants us to not have a mayor.
well, I don't think anyone's talking about not having
Well,
a mayor.
you're taking the presiding officer's power completely out of this session.
It's leaving the presiding officer in the role that a weak form,
That has
weak
nothing to do
mayor,
with how the
a
meetings are
strong
run.
government. It does.
No, it does not.
It does.
No, it does not.
Because
If you read how democracy works in this form of government, there is someone that controls the room, and it's not these other 6 people. It's the man that sits there at the big chair. That's how our form of government operates.
So everything is left in his hands to decide who is out of line, who should be removed from the room.
Absolutely.
Now, see, I don't believe that's.
Well, I'm
how
sorry,
we-
but that's how it works. I mean,
Well, it
and
hasn't worked that
and
way up to now.
well, it has worked that way.
I don't think so.
Yes, it has.
I haven't seen when that one lady that was here
Yeah,
and she threw her fit.
I agree.
And we all were in consensus that she needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
It was not him booting her.
Yeah.
And I think that worked very well. But if we have it set here that that's how it worked, it continues to work that way.
You still have a say, Grant.
Well,
Did you
the
make a
presiding.
motion that night that she be removed?
No, we just had a consensus that we all kind of worked in that,
That we
We all
allowed her
kind
to
of-
speak?
and we all kind of helped her out the door.
I
And
just wanted to make sure.
I think, I agree with Councilman Pace, you know, if the presiding officer oversteps his bounds or his boundary, then I think that the council can agree, you know, that one person is out of line. You know, if I get out of line, you know, and somebody wants to say, Mr. Mayor, I think Councilman Woodward is out of line, then, you know, he can say, yes, I agree with you, or no, let's, you know, let him speak, or whatever the situation is. I don't think it needs, we definitely have to have somebody that's in charge of that's in charge. And it should go through him, whether he does it or council suggests to the mayor that
Yeah.
he does it.
Yes.
So, yeah, I agree with you, Keith, on that.
I think it's ramp for abuse.
And I had one, this may be going ahead, but the other thing you made mention was, the police, you know, he shall be arrested or charged or whatever.
Shall be charged.
Could that not be just, could be or can be by the police? I mean, change that word and you don't have,
Yeah, that's what I suggested.
Yeah.
That may be.
yeah, maybe or can be or,
Mhm.
you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And all that pertains to someone that's resisting.
That's right.
It's not just they're being out of order. It's if they're continuously out of order and they're asked to leave the meeting and they won't. That's where all that comes from, being
it's-
penalized.
The word shall accept is sort of subjective in itself. Does that mean it has to be, or it could be?
Well, that means has to be, shall.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what shall means.
It does, shall, and
Yes.
in legal terms, shall, it means that you must, you will do this. You could rewrite that to,
Well,
may, or
I wouldn't mind it
should,
saying could.
could.
Yeah, I don't really have a
That's just
problem
like,
if
that's
what
just
it
like
means.
a littering fine could be up to $1,200.
That's right, could be.
Mm-hmm.
See, say somebody comes up here, and I'll say I'm the presiding officer, and they come up and I don't wanna hear what they wanna have to say. So I tell them, you're out of order. If I'm worked up, let's say I do that, you're out of order. They may not be out of order at all, but you're out of order. They continue to speak, you're out of order, bang, 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 remove him from this room. What you have, who may be truly the one out of order? Me. But he's the one removed and now under threat of criminal prosecution, he's removed. I'm just trying to keep that in check, that can't happen. And I think a majority of council keeps that in check. They can say, whoa, 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 we'll decide if he's out. The presiding officer's still running the whole meeting. This is only in extreme cases that when it comes to these things, he's in check.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what if the ordinance were to read how it reads originally in these cases, and then it says unless a majority of council objects. So we talked about this the whole time about having a recourse against the theoretical abuse of it. And we talked about Robert's Rules of Order possibly containing or not containing that language. But I do agree you have to have a presiding officer. And if you leave it as it is, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say, unless a majority of council finds what's going on to be not right. Basically. And that's all I have.
I think that's a worthwhile point.
I had a hard time understanding.
Brandon,
I guess, Councilman Jordan, just to restate for here, I get your comment was, where, let's just say at the discretion of providing officer, unless a majority of the council disapprove. Am I correct in saying that?
That's right.
Okay.
In those cases that we're discussing.
Okay, okay.
So you're saying, Tyler, that let it basically stand as written with that addendum blanketed kind of over the whole ordinance, applying to the whole ordinance?
I mean, you could say that, but I was just trying to be limited on the most extreme examples there, like the way where you have it, or the edited it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, specifically, you're speaking about when they're asked to leave.
Right.
Just under that case, not under sit down, we don't wanna hear from you anymore.
Whatever it may be. If the majority of council thinks that something like that is out of order, I do think a recourse for the majority should be available. Like, I think we've been discussing that the whole time, that since this thing's come up. I have not changed my position on that. But I also think that it should default to the mayor. In a word.
In Robert's Rules of Order, there are ways to handle certain things that come up. Some of them maybe it sound a little archaic, but you could have a motion to suspend the rules and then take care of something. There's also motions you can make to continue after if someone that the chair thinks is in decorum, but the elected body wants them to continue speaking. Someone can make that motion. There is no order when someone else has the floor, so you can call for a point of order, interrupt the flow of business. It, however, must be seconded, so it has to get a second. There's no debate on it, and it can't be amended. And a simple majority would say, okay, we agree, keep talking. So there's items that you can do there.
But now, as this is written though, Robert's Rules of Order would only come into play where this ordinance doesn't address it. Isn't that how it's written, Brandon?
Robert's rules shall be considered as prevailing should anything arise that is not addressed by this ordinance.
Okay, so that means when it is addressed, that the presiding officer can say, be quiet and sit down. That's addressed, so you can't do anything about that. Robert's Rules of Orders wouldn't apply because it's specifically addressed that he can do that.
You can still make a motion to suspend the rules, and you could still call the chair to a point of order and make that motion. You could still do that. Just because it's not specifically listed, you could still do that.
The ordinance also does not deal with what we're trying to deal with. It doesn't say what if a majority disagrees. So I think we can get around it multiple ways.
We're discussing the ordinance 2022-8. And amendment to the
Sorry I'm late. I had to get off work late, so.
All right, is there any other discussion on this?
Well, we still got,
I mean, if we want to change things individually, you could vote on those changes individually. Is that correct, Mr. Burton?
Yes, sir, you could. You could,
Instead of having to adopt the whole package?
you could adopt the whole amendment, you could reject the whole amendment, or you can amend the amendment. So there's several ways to handle that.
I don't know where to keep it. I'll get right back to where I was at, Article 3, Article 3, line 3, removal. This is removing someone from the council meeting. Any available city law enforcement officer shall carry out all instructions given by, and you wanna take out presiding officer and majority of city council for the purpose of maintaining order and decorum at council meetings.
Who's gonna make the motion? if
I
you do
mean,
it that way?
I don't get it. I looked down this
I'm
thing,
sorry, tell me where you are, cause I'm
Article
lost.
3, line 3.
Under removal.
Removal?
Yeah.
Okay.
If,
I mean, if you look down everything you've got stricken, it says presiding officer. On that page, there's 2 lines of it, the next page, there's one, two, whole lines, three, that's containing presiding officer.
Yeah, well, it's like I told you, summed it up, is that in these extreme matters, I think should be up to the council
Yeah, well,
presiding over, I mean, that's why it's stricken there. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that it's stricken. I'm just telling you that's why.
okay.
So, let me make sure I understand this. If we're debating an issue and someone gets belligerent and offensive as, listed in Article 2, makes inappropriate, vulgar, or not offensive, but opprobrious, is that
Disrespectful.
disrespectful comments. So
The way I was seeing
things
it,
get really ugly, okay? And one council member is really disrupting the meeting. So if I understand what you're saying, if I'm the presiding officer, what you would suggest I do is say, okay, sir, you're being disruptive. I'm gonna ask you to be quiet a minute while somebody makes a motion, and then I'll ask somebody to make a motion to have them removed. Is that the way you think that ought to
Or
be handled?
someone there seeing this, if this is such a strong thing, they'll say, I make a motion that this person would be asked to stop. You have a second, you have a vote, and there it's handled. Or not. It can be that easily done. It's been my experience, and the old adage, it takes two to fight. If one of the ones fighting is the presider, then he rules. But the others who aren't fighting can say, hey, everybody.
Well, we have the authority to do that regardless of the
Not
presiding
according
officer.
to this. It's the presiding officer that has the authority, as it's written. Presiding officer has all authority. So if he's one of the two that are worked up, at that moment, he's worked up. Is he gonna control himself at that moment when he's worked up? No more than the other one would. And we're hoping it never happens. This is only in extreme
It
cases.
has never happened that I'm aware of.
Then we don't expect it to. So
Then
therefore,
why are you so gung-ho on changing it?
why are we so gung-ho on having it at all? I just assume not have it at all. But we're so gung-ho in having this when it hasn't happened that I'm like, well, if we're gonna have it, let's at least not put all the power in one man's hands. Let's spread it around, but I'd be happy not to have it. So all I'm doing is making amendment to make it palatable.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with all these with this amended ordinance you submitted, so. I don't know how we're gonna move forward on this part
Well, we
of
can
it.
call for the question.
Would someone like to make a motion?
Well, it's got a motion and a second.
Yeah.
In our discussion, so
Okay, so we just
you'll
need
need to,
to ask for a vote on the amended the amendments to this, or I guess we would vote on the amendments, and if that passes or fails, then we'll know whether to move forward on, vote on
You could,
after that.
you could vote on the,
You'd have to,
you could vote on this amendment.
we'll have to.
And I would probably recommend just voting on that amendment, and then if there's other amendments that you want to make, go through and do that. If you like the amendments, all of them as is, go ahead and vote for that. If there's other changes, if there's slight changes, you could make an amendment to that, but if there's just wholesale changes, it's probably better just to start over and go through those changes. There's several ways to deal with it.
That's why I went to Brandon to do it, because it was so extensive. I thought we're never gonna keep this all in our head.
All right. If there's no further discussion,
And I did read over it.
all those in favor of amending the amendments as presented on ordinance 2022-8, aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's 3-3.
Now, what do we do?
Your motion, the motion failed.
Okay.
The motion for the amendment failed,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Right.
Someone could introduce individual amendments, or if they've been writing, they could introduce an entire numerous amendments at one time. It's up to the pleasure of council how you wanna deal with amending.
That would be like changing the word shall to,
Correct.
okay. Well, I'd like to make a motion to amend, changing the word, the city council meeting shall be charged to, could be charged, or how would you word that?
That's
It could be fine.
Could be.
That's under the
be,
penalty part, right?
Would that,
And
Tim,
that's, that's Article 3.
And that would leave it
Yeah.
to the chief's or the
Yeah.
officer here's discretion.
Well, it should.
Yeah.
I
you
think
see
this would-
what we were talking about? Okay.
There are very few laws in the state that are shall. Most of them, there is an option there that can be,
Mhm.
Good.
Can be.
can be charged,
Okay. And I think that's reasonable too. I
or
agree
may be,
with
or
that.
can be.
Okay, so you're making that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
We're doing that in line 4
That
and
would be-
5.
Uh,
'Cause,
let's see, Article 3, line 4
yeah, and 5.
and
'Cause
5.
it's in the same wordings in 5.
Yes.
I'll second that amendment.
Councilman Jordan.
He seconds.
Oh, okay, I'm
okay.
sorry, I didn't hear
Okay,
him.
is there any other discussion on this motion? You understand?
No, not really. So
Okay.
I was trying to follow along.
Under, Mr. Burton, you wanna explain that to him?
I can. Under Article 3, lines 4 and 5, there was the word shall, as it relates to if someone is ruled out of order, refuses to leave, it says they shall be charged with, basically shall be charged with a crime.
Criminally.
The amendment is to take that word could or maybe, to make that a little bit, more as a guidance rather than a I believe it's permissive rather than, an order.
What if something happens with the council? Say, I'm worried about if somebody disagrees with me or something. Where does this? I'm looking in here. So if you don't agree with something I'm saying and you say, hey, I don't want to hear it no more, what? Can y'all rule me out of order?
Just
The
the
Presiding officer.
presiding officer.
Presiding officer could, or another councilman could say, ask for a point of order if they feel like you're just for example, we're talking about budget and you're talking about trash cans. That may not be a good example, but you're not, you're talking about something totally off topic.
What if
They
you-
might say point of order, or if they disagree, they may say point of order. I think Councilman Underwood's out of order. The chair said, no, he's talking about the subject that we're talking about. I'm sorry if you disagree, we'll move on. That's typically how that could be handled.
But this is under removal. It's, again, it says any available city law enforcement officer shall carry out all instruction given by the presiding officer. That's been changed to the majority of the council. Purpose of maintaining order and decorum. But no, that's number 3. Number 4, resisting removal. Any person who resists removal from a city council meeting, instead of shall be charged, it would be could be charged.
Could
It
be,
would be up
may
to
be.
the chief to decide whether or not they were charged with
So
a crime.
I could be charged and I'm not being vulgar, I'm not doing anything, just so somebody disagrees and I stop and y'all say, hey.
No. This is pertaining to someone that's continuous out of order and won't come to order, won't yield, won't sit down, whether it's out there or here,
And ultimately, it won't leave the room.
and then they're asked to be removed and they resist.
Alright.
That's where that
We're talking about
penalty.
the public, okay.
Yeah.
How does that
No,
work with council?
it's us or the
It-
public.
Or it could be us.
It could be anybody. It could be
Yeah.
a staff member. I mean, it could be me. I mean, it's, you know,
If they're
you're
asked to
told to
leave and
leave.
they won't.
and you don't, all right, you know, things are getting serious. Officer, have them removed.
Tim, Chief, if a person is out of order on the street doing something or becomes, you can arrest them, right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to have, you know, somebody come up and say, he's offensive to me, that's, you know,
He's gotta hear it.
yeah.
It's disorderly
So,
conduct.
but if he's here and that's going on, I mean, he could,
It's up to his discretion. That's what we're saying.
so it kinda takes
We've
it
had
up.
these, that's there anyway though. I mean, he could do that if he was disorderly, then he could do that anyway.
But what this says, that's what we're trying to change. Right now, it says they shall be charged. We're changing it to they could be charged.
And then it puts
They
it
wouldn't have to be charged
into their hands that
with a,
they would
with
do
a
it.
crime. It would be up to the chief.
Cause could we actually charge somebody for that? I mean, if they get out of hands,
Well, it comes disorderly conduct or
But
breach
we
of
would
peace
have
at that
to-
time.
but then we'd have to notify the police for it to happen. I mean, you know,
And then the
And
officer
then it-
who's here, whether that be me or another officer, would have to determine whether the elements
It
of the
w-
crime,
yeah,
that
right.
person had done that.
Right.
And if we're not, someone's not here, potentially we would observe
Yeah.
that, we'd have to go off of the testimony of others.
so I think having them could be or may be charged would be,
It'd be better than
Yeah.
would have to be under shall.
I really think that I've never seen any, I mean, we've never had problems like that. Yeah, nobody's been out of it for, it's hard for me to do that. So I just think it'd be better left alone myself, so.
I'm with you there.
So,
Okay, any
What
other questions?
What are you gonna do if me and you get into it, and I'm standing up here at the top of my tone level at you and pounding on the table and telling everybody at this meeting how bad wrong you are, and the mayor's telling me to shut up and sit down, and I won't do it. There's no replication for that.
that's when he steps in, he
Yeah.
says
Well,
that he's out of
that's
order.
what we're trying
Yeah,
to-
He says he's out of order, then everybody says, yeah, he's.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah.
what this is about.
But that's already
We've
law.
already got that though. We've already got that now. I mean, if we was doing that, if you was doing that, you stood up, cussed me, and he said that, he started saying you're out of order, you know, I'm sure the whole council, even if it was me, would say, hey, he needs to be removed.
Well, I'm just using me and you as
Yeah,
examples,
I
because
understand.
everybody in the world knows we're not gonna do that. but
Yeah. And
I hope.
No, no,
'Cause you're
sir,
bigger than that.
no. We've already got that though.
I know.
Well, back to the motion at hand.
Right.
We have a motion and a second to change it from shall to could. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any other discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion that Councilman Woodward made to change the wording in this section from shall to could, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. We've got that amended. Thank you. All right, do we have any other,
Yes, please.
okay,
Let's go back to the title,
okay,
and put in rules of decorum for, city council and committee meetings. We wanna add that, and I'll make a motion to make that amendment to add city council and committee meetings.
okay.
What was that at again?
Is the title. The title currently says an ordinance to provide for rules of decorum at public meetings.
Mhm.
Instead of public meetings, it'll be city council and committee meetings. Because this is directly for the council.
I'll second that. Or did you, David say?
Yeah, I say that.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay, my bad.
All right, is there any discussion on this one? On this particular,
Do you have where you sent the email for us? Got the red lines? I got it in my email. It's
You
not.
should have them printed out there.
It's not. I don't see where it's. I don't see all the stuff there. Where it was.
Here, if you wanna slide over, you can look at it with me, David.
I just want to be able to look and see.
In fact, here, let me put it on here, and I was looking off my phone, so I can get it to you here.
Can we vote on that so we can move on?
or,
He seconded that.
Okay.
He's just looking
All right.
for something else.
all right,
If you
I'm
please.
sorry, I didn't realize. All right, hearing no other questions on Councilman Pace's ordinance to
Want to change it?
Yeah.
amend the title, all those in favor of that motion, if you will, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think there is any. Okay, that one's took care of. So we changed the title to city council and committee meetings. And we have changed the wording in Article 3, Section 4 and 5. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I don't. The majority of Americans believe that our society is increasingly uncivil. That problems are particularly acute, particularly determinable in national, state, and local political arenas, where it threatens government ability to function in a democratically effective. And I'd like to strike that out, and the next two up under it.
Okay. You wanna make that in the
I'll
form
make
of a
that in
motion?
the form of a motion.
I second it.
All right, motion and second. Is there any discussion?
So you're taking the one you just read, and then the next one and the one that says in keeping with national trend, blah, blah, blah. That's the
Mhm.
3 lines you're wanting to take out?
Yep.
Okay.
discussion on that? How you guys feel about that? You good with that?
Can if you'll look, I'm gonna try to tell you this so we
Okay.
can make this in one vote. If you go down two below that, where it says the Walhalla City Council, the city boards and commissions,
I see.
if you wanna take that out, cause that needs to come out of this ordinance.
So
And you
saying
can add
what's
it
in
to this
red should
amendment and we
come
can
out
vote
too.
one time.
Okay, you want me to read that out?
Yeah, take out the part that,
Yeah, this.
Grant's got lined in that one.
Yep. Or the Walhalla City Council, city boards and commissions, other public bodies, and various community groups all convene public meetings to address confrontational issues that engender passionate and often conflicting opinions.
So you'd wanna take out the city boards and commissions and other public bodies.
We're talking about what's in red.
Yeah.
Just, well, I just wanna take out what's in red, the
Yeah.
city boards and commissions and other public bodies and various communities.
Yeah,
Groups.
and I second that again.
Yeah,
Okay.
just add that to the same amendment.
Okay.
All right, so any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendments proposed by Councilman Underwood to removing those lines, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any, so we'll take those out. Alright, is there,
The only last one I got is, the one we talked about earlier, and before you came in, David, it's, we discussed it committee night, Article 2, paragraph 1 in line B. We had, last meeting, at the first reading, that line was stricken. I would like to make a motion to put it back.
This is members shall maintain a civil and courteous
Yeah,
manner.
I would like for it to read, members shall maintain a civil manner and tone. I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second that. That's already,
okay, got a motion and a second,
We'll add that back, but strike,
And courteous out of it.
okay, alright.
so it's just gonna say maintain a civil manner and tone?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do you recall why we struck that?
Honestly, I think it was more of that courteous tone, the manner it was kind of leaning to, and that was the night I was on Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't call all the conversation on that particular line.
It was, I think it was, everybody thought it was repetitive.
Redundant.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is it redundant? Then
It just
why do we
kinda
need
said
just
the
the
same
longer?
I mean, actually, you know, it could have just been, you could have just put, well, I don't know. No, never mind, that thought don't work.
Alright, but we got a motion and a second on that. Is there any other discussion on line B of this motion? All those in favor then, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we've got that changed.
What's a little redundancy?
Why not?
Alright, is there anything else on the ordinance we want to try to amend individually?
I'd like just to talk a little, just not talk, just I had a question, so.
Yes, sir.
While a member of city council, this is, Article 2, down at, E. Says, while a member of city council has the floor, members of council and members of the public shall not interrupt the speaker. I agree with that, we all agree with that.
Mhm.
And I've been guilty of that myself by interrupting y'all up here when I shouldn't have, and past council members. Unless the speaker As this is what's looking, unless the speaker is ruled out of order, never mind, let's see.
Now, I believe F was already, I think it's in our minutes, that we struck that before.
Yep.
I think we'll find that in the minutes, that was struck.
Yeah, F was struck, I remember that.
Would
Pretty
that
sure.
have been in the
Been last-
October the
it'd been
19th
Let me
meeting?
go get those,
Yeah.
all my notes on that.
October the 18th,
18th.
actually.
Yeah. Section C.
I think it's in the
They were
minutes. We
discussed.
just
They were
approved.
They
They
were-
were discussed, and it says, ask for clarification regarding Article 2, Section C and F, is that?
B was struck, but I also flagged F and G, for that further discussion when it was sent back to me.
'Cause if,
So it was-
I'm trying to get to the minutes that we just approved.
It
That-
was suggested that it be sent to,
see-
suggested to table and send back to committee is
See,
what
if you-
it said. Did we take it up at
Yeah.
committee?
If you look at G, it says a member who violates the rules of decorum may be removed from the meeting according to, census of council, or appropriate, that's what it's got. That's the changes of it, so, but. I'll make a motion, we can take F out.
Yeah, I'll second it, but I'm trying to see if this has already
Well,
been
I'll-
done.
It was sent back to
Follow
committee.
memory.
It wasn't done in those minutes on the 18th.
Well, therefore, I'll second it.
I don't think it'll hurt to just make sure everyone's on the same page to revote on that if there's, I'm sure I do have it in my handwritten notes, it's flagged, something to discuss at committee.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that was discussed, so it wouldn't hurt just
Follow memory.
to make sure everyone understands that we just go back through.
I don't
Approve to strike,
understand
strike,
why you
leave,
wanna
leave, or-
strike F, cause, you know, it's,
Go back.
I mean, it's just
Well, it's.
maintaining order if,
I know, but he's gonna, if I'm sitting here, just like you said, we're sitting here fussing back and forth, and I won't shut up, then he calls me out, the mayor calls me, says, you know, he
Yeah.
calls me down, I mean, that's there, it's already, it's there, we're already doing that. Why do we need this in here to tell us that? And then if it's bad enough, then we vote on it, or we would vote on it.
Where is it already in there, David?
It's not, we've done, that's the way we've always operated now.
But-
We've always operated that way.
well, that's the way, I know, that's the way it's supposed to be. And this is just putting it in writing, just like
Just
everything
confirming
else
it.
we put in writing these days, but, that's just,
We've got Robert's rules, it's already there.
Is it already there?
Technically, no.
It's not,
No, there is no order of, the only ordinances that pertain to the structure of meetings are ones that were done in 2020, and that's about the structure of the committee meetings, that's, about certain things has to go through committee to go to council, certain things would, that's when it gave, I believe, the 5 minutes of public speaking time. I believe that was 2017.
I was always told we operate under Robert's rules anyway.
Typically you do,
Right.
but it's not memorialized in the city code or the ordinances.
Yeah, but we've always,
But
I
I'm
mean,
not
that's
sure
the way
that
we've done it.
that it says in Robert's Rules of Order what we're saying here though, does it? Specifically?
It does, but there's some things that Robert's rules that they address that won't pertain to an elected body. There's certain things in Robert's rules, like if we were just on some private board or whatever, and they're tired of you, they can make a motion to remove you from office. That's in Robert's Rules of Order. There's a whole way to do that. Government can't do that. This body can't vote to kick somebody off of their seat. So there's certain things that you have to tweak on to make them applicable to the form and function of government.
Did that answer your question?
Thank
All right, so,
So we can vote on that?
you.
that, well, we'll have to, if we got a motion and a second. And your motion and second is to remove F, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So that was, who seconded that?
I did.
Okay. I just didn't get that jotted down.
okay, all those in favor of Councilman Underwood's motion to remove section F of Article 2? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's tie.
It's a tie vote, so that
That
fails.
fails.
Correct.
All right, is there anything else? We beat this horse to death. Is there anything else on here we wanna vote on individually?
I'm sorry to keep bringing up my point, but I see the point of this ordinance, and I want to support it. I do want to see what the problem is with saying, in the cases where we're talking about removing somebody, you know, potentially opening up the criminal charge, in those cases, what is wrong with saying that that's the mayor's call? But if the majority of council says that's not right, they could overrule it. And you're saying, what I'm hearing is there are ways to do that. And, you know, we can vote to suspend the rules for the recourse, but if the majority of council at the end of the day is going to do it, why not make it easier for us? If, you know, I don't foresee this ever happening. I think we're all doing, you know, the same thing. But can someone explain to me why that would not be appropriate?
I'm not sure.
Okay, he's saying, kind of what he said earlier was just, let me go back to my notes here.
You know,
That-
in your opinion, it's just not making sense.
That we leave, that you understand the intent of this, but your addition would be somewhere unless a majority of the council disapproves that, you know, there is a recourse to this. You can suspend the rules, you can rise to a point of order, you can, you know, allow someone to continue speaking if the majority of the body wishes to do that. There's rules in that book that do apply. So I believe that you're saying that we could probably insert a sentence somewhere that, you know, unless,
Also realizes that.
yeah, unless the majority of the council disagrees, you know, with
The presiding officer.
the presiding officer.
That's what I'm saying. And I've been saying that, you guys know I've been saying that from day one on this. I do see the need in it.
Is
Make
this-
your motion.
Is this on Article 3? What is this on? I'm kinda
The
lost.
entire, basically.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I don't know how we would word it, Mr. Mayor, but in the cases where we're talking about someone being removed particularly, it is the mayor's call, because the mayor is the presiding officer, he runs the meeting, he has to control the room. But if the majority of our council thinks, well, that's absurd, I think there's, you know, that needs to be
if you say at any point that the majority of the council disagrees with the presiding officer's position, the majority of the council's decision supersedes.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying, and what I'm hearing from you guys every time I ask is that at the end of the day, that could be an outcome that is achieved with our form of government, with the rules that we have. Even if we do pass this ordinance without that amendment, there are other ways to go about doing that. Why not just put it here? And I think that's, I don't wanna say it's a compromise, but it's a way to address all the viewpoints on this issue. I'm fully ready to support the ordinance if we can agree on that.
I think that provides our check that I was looking
I
for.
think that's the entire crux of the whole issue. You know, I really, when it comes down to all those little stuff, it does matter, but that's ultimately what the disagreement has been about.
And you were mentioning that you just apply it to the entire ordinance.
That really wasn't what I was saying initially. I wanna hear other people's thoughts on that. I wanna hear an explanation as to why we shouldn't do that. Cause I could be wrong. I wanna hear.
I think under Article 3, number 8, Robert's Rules of Order, current edition, shall be considered as prevailing should anything arise that is not addressed to this ordinance. You could probably come up with some language if there's a disagreement with a ruling from the chair. A councilman could motion to appeal that ruling, or you might even not have to go that far. You said rulings by the chair may be appealed in accordance to Robert's Rules of Order, and I think that would cover essentially everything. It's already in the book. Yeah, I think that would probably cover everything. That way, if there's any disagreement, any one of the elected officials could say, rise to a point of order, whatever, and say, I make a motion that, I disagree with your ruling, I make a motion that we reverse the ruling, somebody seconds their discussion. Typically, that's not amendable, but you vote on it and carry on business.
I just want to see something like that be clearly outlined, specifically with a disagreement of a presiding officer ruling. We can appeal to it in that way. I'm totally comfortable with it.
Well then, would you like to make a motion? I could make a motion that would make that clear. Would you like to make that motion? Would you like me to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, and I would like to kind of appeal to Brandon to help us word it. I'm not sitting there looking at all of you guys trying to, and we talked about this a lot too already, so.
How about under Article 4? It says repeal of conflicting. That will be number 1. And then number 2, we can memorialize if there is a disagreement with a ruling by the chair as it pertains to decorum.
Yep.
Robert's Rules of Order can be followed as remedy.
Yeah, and that includes a suspension of rule.
Correct. You could go as far as making a motion to suspend the rules, things of that nature.
Okay. Okay, as long as we just kind of outline that, I'll be good. I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I want to hear that
I
final.
don't even remember what I said.
I don't either.
So Article 4, the amendment would be under Article 4 to call repeal of conflicting number 1. And then Article 4, number 2 would be, should a disagreement with the ruling from the chair arise,
With the
current-
majority of council.
current Robert's Rules of Order can be followed as remedy. And all of those either require, depending on what you vote on, require a majority, or some has to have a two-thirds majority vote.
That sounds good.
That sounds like all of a sudden we're racing through Robert's Rules of Order trying to figure out what's what. why don't we just spell it out? Why don't we just spell it out if at any point.
Well, that would cover,
the-
any of the repelling conflicts that come up, that if we word it just like that, it would cover anything.
But we could spell it out even.
Yeah, because these situations are unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Leave it open-ended a little bit.
Yeah.
Leave it open with that caveat. And I don't know if I can move to call the question of my own motion or not, but I'd like to.
well, we need a second.
It's not been seconded yet.
Yeah. I'll second
I'm
it.
way ahead of myself.
I'll second that.
Well, now I'd like to call the question.
Well, before we call the question, I think we're gonna have to have it on paper here,
Just-
where we
just-
all
I was gonna make
understand
a-
what we're
Now
voting
read back
on.
what you just wrote down so everybody hears it. Please.
All right.
Should a disagree, all right, Article 1, Article 4 will number 1 for repeal of conflicting. Number 2, should a disagreement arise from a ruling by the chair, the current edition of Robert's Rules of Order can be consulted for remedy or shall be used as remedy.
Shall be. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm good. Honestly, I am.
Yeah.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Does everybody understand what we're just basically voting to follow Robert's Rules of Order on that particular section on removal, is that correct? Is that the way everybody understands it? It's clear as mud. Any other comment, question? All those in favor of Councilman Jordan's amendment, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're good to go. Alright, is there anything else we want amended on ordinance 2022-8? Alright, so now we're gonna, Mr. Burton, we're gonna vote on the amended ordinance, is that correct?
Yes,
The
sir.
whole ordinance?
Yes, sir, unless there's any other amendments.
No other amendments, going once, going twice. All right, all those in favor of the amended ordinance 2022-8, aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Let the record show. All right, we're gonna go on down the agenda now to ordinance 2022-9, ordinance to provide for rules of decorum at public meetings, and I'll let you explain the difference in this one and the one we just passed.
I believe probably technically somebody needs to move that off the table, cause it was tabled at the last meeting.
I'll make a motion, we table it.
To untable it or table it? Keep it tabled. It was tabled at the last meeting, so we could discuss it at committee. It's on the agenda, but someone needs to bring it off the table so we can discuss it.
Make a motion, we bring it off the table.
What?
Okay.
To
I'm sorry. What?
We had an interruption, something.
Yeah, I know. What happened? What'd you say? Did you untable it?
I did. I
Okay.
made a motion on the table
I'll
so we could
second.
discuss it.
All right, and a motion and a second, now we can discuss. Is there any discussion?
Well, that's
You gotta vote to untable it. You just
That
made
was-
the
Oh,
motion.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. All those in favor of the motion to put it back on the agenda
Throw it back on the table.
On the table. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed, is there any? Don't think so, we're good.
So, okay, this is ordinance 2022-9. It's got the same title. Staff and I know councils recommend we need to adjust the title on it, but this pertains to boards and commissions. So this would be pertaining to the Planning Commission, to the Board of Zoning Appeals, to the DDC, to the Tree Committee, any board or commission that the body of council appoints when they meet in a public meeting, this would apply to.
So are we waiting for amendments?
I'm gonna, can I make a motion for amendments, plural?
Sure.
I'll start with the title to add city board and commissions instead of public. Just like on the previous ordinance, the second, third, and fourth paragraph of the whereases that we just removed from the council ordinance, we just might as well go ahead and strike them from this one. It's the same language. Page 2, where it talks about the council members should be committees and commissions.
I'd already made that note. Let's say the body or.
Right, and all through that whole
that
paragraph, all that language needs to reflect to the
Board of Commission.
board of commissions. Okay. And I'm looking at my original notes and trying to keep on the new ones on page 3 where it's got let's see. You got current edition. Okay. And those are all I've got.
Okay, you made that in the form of a motion.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And we're open for discussion. Any discussion on Councilman Pace's amendments to this ordinance?
I think you covered it.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor of changing ordinance 2022-9 as motion made by Councilman Pace, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There is none, we're good to go. Now we've got it amended.
I have another amendment.
Okay, sir?
I would like to make a motion to amend the addendum that was put on the last one, that made by Councilman Jordan, to add that to the end of this one as well.
So you're wanting to add, should a disagreement result from a ruling by the chair, Robert Rules of Order, current edition, shall be used as prevailing?
Yes, sir.
I second that.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that one? Hearing none, all those in favor of Councilman King's amendment to this ordinance?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Don't think there is any. So, we're good to go on that. Alright, so now that we have the, amendments made to this ordinance, now we'll take up the ordinance per se.
Correct, as amended. And we're gonna have public comment as well.
Okay. Let's open it. Do we need to vote before, motion and a second before we do public comment, or?
No.
You can just do public comment
All right.
now, and then somebody can read it in the final form.
Is there anyone that is here that would like to comment on our ordinance 2022-9? Does anybody have any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance 2022-9 as amended.
As amended.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. So, that one's done. Yes, the next item on the agenda is ordinance 2022-13, dealing with, registration for vacant and abandoned buildings. Mr. Burton?
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, before he even gets into it, I'd like to make a motion that we table this ordinance,
I second.
and let our new employee that's coming in soon, let her get settled in, Sylvia, cause this will reflect a lot on her job duties, and let's revisit this when she's on staff, and we'll have a little more input from her as well.
Okay.
I second.
You're seconding that? Okay. Any discussion there? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I don't think there is any, so good to go on that. All right, under discussion and action items, Mr. Burton, I'll let you bring those up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We discussed this in committee meeting. The first is contract action to award a contract with Doug Pay Masonry Incorporated for a total of $24,450. We received a grant from Partners of Progress of around $16,000. The remaining portion would be funded out of hospitality for $8,450. This is to repair the concrete bleachers, add an ADA viewing pad, add sidewalks and steps for the dugout access at the Chicopee ball field.
You need that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir. I'll need, yes, you'll need to vote on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract from Doug Pay Masonry for the Chicopee ball field.
Got a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
You said that was coming from the Partners for Progress?
Correct.
And
They had a fundraiser, and they raised the funds for a majority of that. I believe they had about $20,000 that they raised. The balance of the the rest of that would go towards some other work, signs, banners, things of that nature.
Cause there's two projects over, or one, that's two pieces that has to be done.
Correct.
And there
Yes.
needs to be money for that,
Correct.
cause
Exactly.
we had donations specifically for that part of the project.
For that, and that's why
Okay.
we're splitting the pot, so
Okay.
to speak.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion on Chicopee?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any, so that's taken care of. Next item, Mr. Burton, you wanna,
Yes, sir. The next one is for hollow water line improvements. This was to replace water lines in the Poplar Springs area and on North Highway 11. We issued a RFP. This was funded by the county ARPA money. They gave us a little over 2.4 million. After we flew an RFP, we got a bid back. There was some interest, but there was not a lot of interest in people bidding on it. So we talked with the potential bidder. They sharpened their pencil a little bit and still looking for the entire project around 3.8 million. We don't have the cash to make everything happen right now. The county has obviously they've depleted that ARPA fund for other projects. We're recommending that we award the Harper General. It's the same folks that did the water plant construction, $2,474,080. This will be covered by the grant that we received from the county, and it'll cover the construction from West Union going north on Highway 11 there, I-Tron, all the way up to Country Junction, and it'll also upfit some lines at the intersection with our pumping station at 183. Our system was bottlenecked there, so when they run the hydraulic analysis, they found out if we increase that pipe size, that'll help our existing customers actually on farther down towards Knox Road and out towards the lake. So with this line upsize, going from I-Tron up to Country Junction Road, and then the upfit at the intersection there, that'll help. All the design work will be done for Country Junction up to 183 and then the Poplar Springs area. So in the event that we have money, we have a windfall, something like that, or we can apply for more grants, we'll have the design in hand and we can go ahead and get the project done.
okay? Do we have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to move forward with the contract as
okay,
presented.
with Harper General?
Mhm.
Okay, have a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a motion and a second, so it's now open for discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion for the contract with Harper General as presented, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't think there is any, so that one's taken care of. Okay. The next item, we go to committee reports, and we'll move right through those. The first one, is recreation. Mr. Woodward.
Yes, sir. That's one for November 1st, right? Brandon?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I was
Uh,
different place.
Mr. Galbraith reported that, they're hosting All-Star Soccer Games November 10th, 14th, Memorial Field. Basketball, current registration is 243 players. All-Star football is coming up, and the baseball and softball teams have finished their season. And that's all Mr. Galbraith reported.
All right, the next committee is Public Works. Mr. Jordan, you wanna report on that? Did we lose him?
Can you hear us? How about now? Okay, yeah, we couldn't, the mayor asked if you could read, Public Works report. Okay, we didn't hear that part.
I'll be glad to do it if you
Would
want.
you like Councilman Pace to read it?
I can't hear him. Mr. Russ reported in October they picked up 207 tons of residential garbage, 121 tons of commercial garbage and furniture, 48 tons of brush, 1.7 tons of mattresses, 21 tons of CMD, reported on delivered 35 roll carts, and picked up 13, repaired and replaced 7, and continue cleaning up brush and leaves and trash, the storm drains, trimming trees, grass cutting and other maintenance, assisted with changing banners and set up and breakdown for Oktoberfest, and training on outward fleet management and work order system, and that was all.
Good deal. All right, let's go to the next one is the Police Committee. Councilman Underwood, you wanna
Yes, sir.
highlight that?
This is personnel and new hires, promotions. We would like to welcome our newest officer, Austin. You might want to help me with this, Chief. Is it Chenault? Chenault. He comes from North Carolina, where he was a corrections officer. He will report to the academy on November the 10th to begin his Class 1 training. October events and completing training and news. Officer said is currently attending a K-9 search and tracking certification along with his K-9 first aid. Merchant market went well with no major problems. Oktoberfest also went well. There was one arrest along with several minor incidents. Main Street Halloween event was busy. We had about 950 visitors on Saturday. Boo in the Bay, thanks to the Walla Fire Department for allowing us to be a part of this event. Over 1,200 people came through the new layout this year. The police sign on Main Street has been refinished and is back out front, and we're still working on a new event board. They had training hours were 189 hours. Let's see. That's all I've got right now.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Utilities Committee, Councilman King.
I spoke with Mr. Paris this morning. He said everything is going along smoothly. We're doing well. The shortage of supplies, we're just able to keep up with it and catch up on water taps. That's not an issue right now, and that's wonderful. And in addition, we are still needing water plant operators.
Thank you. Who's on fire?
I am. I'll read it if you want me to.
Yes.
So the fire department responded to 121 calls for service. 54 were fire calls and 67 were medical rescue calls. During the month, we were on multiple calls 33% of the time. We provided 15 instances of mutual aid. 58 calls were inside the city, and 63 calls were either in an unincorporated areas or another district. Average on scene time was 69 minutes. Both career and volunteer staff spent 409 hours on incidents. operating training staff, both career and volunteer trained for a total of 227 hours during the month. We still have 2 full-time spots open. 3 staff members are currently taking EMT class and expected to graduate in late November. We're currently going through the process of credentialing for the department to be certified to respond to calls for service as a South Carolina DHEC and BLS agency. Staff completed an in-depth training on rope and rescue and basic extrication. Oktoberfest was coordinated and managed with no incidents. The fire marshal continuing to complete pre-fire plans, businesses and inspections, completing re-inspections as needed. Staff completed 7 public education events this month. The department completed several fire education events in the local schools. The Walhalla Police Department assisted with this annual Boo in the Bay event and was able to reach 1,200 people. And that's all I've got.
Okay, let's go to general government. Mr. Pace.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burton reported that Celia Myers will start as the newly hired community development planner on November 21st. Remodeling at City Hall offices for administrator and planning and zoning. Reported civil engineer position still vacant. Still working on the personnel handbook rewrite. Be sending information to department heads regarding updating emergency operations plan. Duke Energy progressing with the EV charging station. They have submitted draft plans. Waffle House permitted and updated, and early stages of working on the app called One Walhalla. Met with the Chamber of Commerce on working together, addressed potential diesel shortage, and received a final ARPA payment. Also reported stump house visits are increasingly $10,000 a month. Contract for phase 3 in progress. Update on the Greenway project. Met with DOT. Working on encroachment permits. Hoping to have contractor in place by the end of the year. Reported 12 zoning permits, and that was all.
Okay. All right, that pretty much takes care of our agenda items, except for those that we've got to take up in executive session. So at this time, do I have a motion that we go into executive session?
I'll make a motion, go to executive session.
Yes. I have a second.
I'll say.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank all of you for coming.
I think I've cold in here.
You want my coat?
No, I got one. I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on.